Welcome to Mainland, your local regional television station. I'm Graham O'Brien, and some of the stories coming up in our Nelson Tasman Regional News Roundup. Youth Go Electric, Labour Caucus Committee in town, MP Nick Smith talks Southern Link, wood burner rules under scrutiny, and more. Local youth teams lined up for this year's electric vehicle competition at Trafalgar Park on Thursday night after their Wednesday event had been delayed due to wet weather. High school students in the Nelson region have been working on designing and building their electric vehicles to take part in this Evolicities challenge held in Nelson for the first time. The event is a voluntary one for high schools, with local schools representing our region gearing up to take their EVs to Christchurch on November the 28th to compete alongside other high schools. I caught up with some of those participating at this year's event. Okay guys, you're from Nelson Boys College there, so let someone please tell me what you've done here and how was it for you?
Well, this is our electric bike, Shirley. We've just been building it over the last couple of months, ready to go down to the race in Christchurch on the 28th of November. So yeah, it's going good.
And what was a good thing for you, a highlight for you?
Actually, it's building it because we are 4 people in building it. The car is doing electricity things and they are doing engineering. I'm actually the poorest doing things, so all the things I'm doing just help them grabbing things, measure all the things. Yeah, actually I learn a lot. Yeah.
And how about a downside of it? Was there any downsides to this project?
I'd like to say the time off school, but I think that's a bit of a bonus. But yeah, we've blown a couple of fuses and stuff during the way, and had to buy a new chain today because we snapped it yesterday testing it out. So, yeah.
And any last comments for you and the project?
Not really. I'd probably just encourage people who think it might be a good idea to probably try it out. It's good fun. So if you're into it, give it a go.
And how do you think you go in the race?
So not sure we'll win, but it'll go. Great. Yeah, we reckon.
We'll try our best.
Alrighty guys, can you tell us where you're from and some highlights of building your project?
Yeah, so we're from Mainland College. We had 2 teams. We decided to make a shopping trolley go-kart. The biggest highlight was probably Thursday night, so 3 nights ago. We finally got it going, and we went for our first test. It was sort of raining, and we got it out the driveway, and it just took off, and we were going for it. So it was pretty awesome.
Oh, nice one. And how about for you?
Yeah, it was about that night was about 10 hours of work throughout the whole day. We were there until 11 o'clock at night, but no, it was good. Once it got going, it was great. It was just working through all those problems and trying to find, testing things with the cable ties to begin with. It was a good time.
And you got a pretty interesting design there. Did that come from anyone, or was it a bit of a group effort on that?
That was we were Googling it, obviously. Started off with Google electric vehicles, and we saw this guy at university, and he had done something that was a lot better than this because he had a higher budget. But so we did that, and it was flying around campus, and we're like, that would be so cool doing a shopping trolley, and so that's where the idea came from.
And are you all going down to Christchurch, or just the winner of today?
I think any team that wants to go down is allowed to go down, and so it'll kind of depend because we've got exams coming up, but I'm definitely keen to go down. We've actually got a few modifications to make before we go because it's currently quite unstable. We actually just had someone bail out of it, but no, it's fixable.
Yeah, and shopping trolleys are notoriously for being unstable, aren't they?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
It looks like a real nice machine you've got there. Can you tell us a little bit about it and where you're from? And
so yeah, we're from Mainland College, and just sort of put it together over maybe 10-15 hours or so, just a few hours, putting in a few hours and weekends.
And have you done anything like this before, or was it completely new for you?
No, I think everyone in our group was pretty new for everyone in our group, yeah.
Alrighty, well good luck and see how you go.
Thank you.
Phil, you're from Nelson Electricity, you're one of the sponsors today. You must be pretty happy with the things that you see going on.
Yeah, I think that by what I've seen today, that we've got a number of kids that have really put a lot of effort into their vehicles, and you can see that these guys, it's good to get them into sort of the technology and electric vehicle space, because that's our future. I can see that that electric vehicles are what we're going to be experiencing in the next number of years, and more coming on stream. And these kids, when they finish their tertiary education or whatever they end up doing, is they're going to be right in amongst it, and with all that experience as well.
Yeah, sure, and makes you a bit jealous now that you can't be back at school, isn't it?
Well, that's as I was saying to you earlier, that where were these sorts of little these opportunities when I was at school? But sure, this is great. It's great to be a part of, and supporting this event.
Phil, thanks very much for getting behind the event and making it happen.
Well, thank you very much. Cheers.
Labor Party's Jobs and Economic Caucus Committee arrived to a wet Nelson on Wednesday. The caucus were in town to discuss the proposed Waimea Dam with the Waimea Water Augmentation Committee, comprising of local industry and councils meeting with the EDA. Visiting Pine Industries and Newdorf Winery were among some of the local businesses they were here to see. Chrissy Small caught up with the caucus at their first Nelson port of call, Lambretta's Cafe, and spoke to Dunedin Labor MP David Clark and MP for Tasman, Damien O'Connor.
Can you tell me what is bringing the Labor caucus here, and tell me what this caucus is all about?
Well, this caucus is part of a wider wider program of visits to the regions. As a caucus, we've been really deliberate about getting out and about, talking to business people, NGOs, sector groups in the different regions of New Zealand. And of course, there's a feeling of neglect in the regions, which is borne out by the fact that roading funding and various other investment areas have been neglected under the current government, hospital funding, education and so on. Where the screws have been turned down on the funding taps, the regions are struggling, and this government seems content to let most of the money flow through to Christchurch and Auckland, and so we're getting out and hearing the stories and then talking a little bit about what Labor's plan would be to make sure that the regions are properly supported in the future. Well, if New Zealand's going to get ahead, we need all of our regions to be prospering, and neglecting great chunks of the country makes no sense at all. In fact, the OECD says that regional development is where the low-hanging fruit is for most Western economies. Making sure skill levels are high and wages are decent in our regions improves overall GDP for the country and helps us all get ahead.
So David, okay, so what can Labor do to help those that are at the bottom of the ladder? And there seems to be a growing amount of people that are achieving that status.
Yeah, we need to make sure that there is opportunities for education. The nature of work is changing, and we've got our Future of Work program that's looking into that and looking at solutions for the coming election. Making sure that the hospitals are funded in the regions, making sure that roading is properly funded. This government's made huge cuts in roading funding for the regions. All of those funding infrastructure investments equate to jobs, and that has a flow on through to communities. So we're about building a high value economy with high wages, and Labor will continue unapologetically to do that, and we shall bring in some pretty strong policies to the next election based on the discussions we're having as we get out and about in the regions and our own research.
Right, now David, how can you assist small businesses who seem to be inundated with a lot of paperwork, a lot of things to think about rather than just run their business?
Well, the Labor Party took procurement policies to the last election, which were about ensuring that small business was a focus for government. That instead of the easy thing to do, which is to deal with big businesses and big size contracts, that government was actually focused, as it is in other world economies, on dealing with small businesses, which are usually local and which bring investment back into communities. So I imagine we'll be looking at those kinds of policies and seeing how we can make sure that they are up to date for the next election. The national government seems very focused on the larger corporate enterprises and has introduced a lot of legislation through the Parliament which really does, as you've said, amount to red tape for those smaller businesses. It doesn't seem particularly interested in the smaller businesses. Historically, Labor has always been on the side of quote-unquote the little guy, be that from the union end of things or these days through small business, and Andrew Little signalled clearly that we want to be supporting small business and we want to be supporting our regions.
Well, look, I've got 8 colleagues here, which is a very good turnout. We're doing regional visits right throughout New Zealand, just going to really connect with people, and really important we meet with different organisations, different businesses, different local body organisations, that just to hear what's going on the ground, and it allows my colleagues to get out and learn more about Nelson, Tasman, and I've been around in other places as well, South Canterbury, Hawke's Bay. So great way for labour to get out and around.
Right. So, okay, are they here for the whole day, or are they here for a few days?
No, we're here for one full day, so a number of visits, and been to Whakatu, Nelson Airport, we're going out to Tasman District Council, going out to Newdorf, just to get a really good and wide-ranging brief on what's happening with the local economy.
And of course, Nelson Airport, that's still taking off, isn't it, with the airlines all coming in there?
Yes, very interesting to get an update, and a number of airlines. So what we've got to do now is work really hard to make sure all those airline seats are full. We hope they'll be discounted, so they'll be cheaper. We've got to make sure we put people on those planes to make it viable and build the opportunities in tourism and in other business.
Yeah, well, it's going to be great for retailers and the like to see more people here spending their money, isn't it?
Absolutely. The more people come down, and I think a lot from Auckland and North Island haven't been here, they discover the place, they're all, wrapped with it, and they'll come back again. But, all the money we can get in any way possible is valuable to the retailers.
Well, I think we've been quite a good kept secret, actually, apart from the Able Tasman. It seems to be the crown, the jewel in the crown. But Damien, house prices, they're being pushed up, of course, in the regions because people who can't afford to buy in the bigger centres are looking at smaller centres like Nelson. Prices are going up here too, but we've still got the sunshine wage economy.
Yeah, well, ultimately the bizarre behaviour in Auckland is flowing right through to Hamilton into other cities like Nelson. We do have this reality that we still got to, we've got low wages relative to many other regions. We've got to get those wages up. That's why we've got to get more money in the pockets of the orchardists, in the pockets of the timber industry, so they can pay more money out and people can afford to buy a house here, because we don't want the big division in our local economy. It's happening around the world, it's happening in some places in New Zealand. We want people to be able to live here and be part of the community, own a house, have a home, and live on a decent wage. Putting more money into the pockets of average New Zealanders puts more money into the pockets of the small retailers and small business people. So we've got to work on, made round to go round, and we've said that we would increase the minimum wage, and a lot of small business people think, oh, that's terrible, I can't afford it. But if they look at who their customers are, that money will come back to them. And so we've got to, be on an upward spiral of wages and conditions for all New Zealanders, and getting more money for our produce, for the quality produce that we generate here, is really important, and that'll flow through.
Well, we've got the big port here, so we've got that advantage. Now, Damien, so you're playing host, because sadly we don't have an MP for Nelson for Labour, but so you're it. How's it going?
It's going really well. I mean, I'm always in and out of Nelson and connected with the community, but never enough time to do justice to, Nelson, along with my West Coast Tasman electorate, and so lots of travel. But any opportunity like this, I grab with both hands, and these colleagues are really having a great time, and a few tohu wines that they're going to have to taste when they get home. Things like that just give them a good sample of what we have to offer.
The full interviews with the MPs will be available on our Mainland TV Nelson Facebook page on the weekend. Now for an issue we've been covering on a particular road project for Nelson. MP for Nelson Nick Smith was in the office this week, and Chrissy Small spoke to him about the proposed Southern Link and his support for the project.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are concerns about emissions for the Victory area, which figures are showing to be 40% above the World Health Organisation PM 2.5 limit by Council's own testing. Won't the Southern Link compound this issue problem?
No, and let me tell you why. And last week I actually released the first statutory report on the state of New Zealand environment, got some really good information there about air pollution standards. And the thing that's most encouraging is that because the government has toughened up significantly on fuel standards and on vehicle standards, is that the contribution that vehicles are making to the problem of air pollution is in freefall. It has come down hugely. Can I give you the numbers?
Sure.
We used to allow sulphur, which when burnt in diesel comes out as, that black, really sooty, ugly stuff that you used to see coming out of trucks. You probably haven't noticed, but there's a lot less of it. I'll tell you why. The standard did allow 500 parts per million sulphur. We then reduced it to 50. we've now reduced it to 15. So it's gone from 500 to 15. Okay. If you take in terms of the vehicle design, and this is for new vehicles, we have reduced the minimum standard for the design of a vehicle, the amount of pollution that's allowed out the tailpipe, by 95%. Right?
That's great.
So it only allowed 5%. Now, it's true, it takes a while for the fleet of cars and trucks to change. The fuel's all changed, right? Both the petrol and the diesel standards are improved and are improved now. It takes, your average life of a vehicle in New Zealand is about 13 years. So it does take some time for the new cars to come for the fleet and for all of that benefit. Let's be honest, the principal problem with air pollution in areas like Richmond, like Stoke and Victory are house fires, not cars. But here's the other part. Whether the vehicles are going down Waimea Road or whether they're going down the new highway, they're actually going into that same catchment. Secondly, is that the worst air pollution comes from congested traffic. So when you pop out here outside Mainland TV and you see every morning, every night, that big line of cars stopping and starting, that produces a lot more air pollution than free-flowing traffic.
Right.
So it is my strong contention that the construction of the Southern Link will actually improve the environment. Now, everybody would prefer the vehicle when the big volumes of traffic in and out of Nelson went past somebody else's house. Oh, look, I accept that.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say is that when you're trying to look after the overall interest, the objective should be, look, there isn't any perfect answer. Let's put the road where it goes past the least number of houses, the least number of schools. And what people are a little bit, and Victory's got some issues and we need to work with them and resolve those. But actually, you've got Tahunanui School, you've got Nelson College, you've got Hampton Street School. You've actually got about twice as many houses on the traffic routes the traffic is currently going. So look, I've been a long time advocate. The only regret I have was that I worked very hard to get the Stoke bypass. All the same bloody greenies and opponents said that the Stoke bypass was awful, was going to wreck the estuary, and you would have heard the chorus back 15 years ago when that road was built. How many people today say that building Wakatu Drive or the Stoke bypass was a mistake? Look, Stoke would be a disaster zone with that traffic. The area would be hugely economically disadvantaged. So we're going through a process. NZTA is working through the issues, but I remain very firmly of the view that we need to invest in that infrastructure for the Southern Link Road for our region to be able to advance. And you know what I find so ironic? Is that, you had the Labour Party come to Nelson and argue that the government's not spending enough money on roads in the regions, and yet it's the Labour Party and the Green Party that are opposing getting on and building the Southern Link Road. You work that out, because I can't.
Yes, well, that's right. They are saying that the government is abandoning the regions. That's why they've got their jobs and caucus going around and meeting and greeting. So is all the money going to Christchurch and
well, no, it's not. But more particularly, really interestingly, last week they had population figures out, and the sort of images of all the population growth going on. Every single region in New Zealand had population increases, with the exception of Bulla. Right? Now they've got some unique issues in the sense that both the coal industry and the dairy industry and the cement industry. So we need to do some special things for that community that have got some real challenges, and I'm quite sympathetic to that. But what's really going on is actually New Zealand is doing well. And I just simply challenge the Labour Party and say, well, go back to your track record when you had your 9 years in government and what was happening to the regions. The truth was that actually most of them were having population decline. What's going on right now is New Zealand is doing a whole lot better than Australia. So people are coming on across this way of the Tasman. Yes, there are particular issues with both Auckland and Christchurch, and our government has a pretty active program around regional investment. I'll give you an example. What are the things that are going to make a region like Nelson more competitive? First thing, we've got to be connected to the world. And we are spending over $12 million of government money on rolling out the internet and ultra-fast broadband, and you will have seen all the vehicles around Nelson putting the cables in. And that is really important for our region being able to be competitive. Interestingly, we're ahead in the regions of the rollout of ultra-fast broadband over our big cities. Second area is air links are really important for us. And so, for instance, the decision in Nelson where we've got Jetstar, we've got Origin, we've got Kiwi Air,
yep.
As well as Sounds Air and Air New Zealand servicing our region. Hey, look, that's really optimistic stuff. And so I'm not in that pessimistic frame of mind that they are around the regions. I think Nelson's doing well. I think there is more that we need to do to ensure it continues that.
Sure.
Nelson City Council's Planning and Regulatory Committee on Thursday backed a recommendation to carry out a wood burner plan change to be notified in January 2016. Council administration recommended that an expert panel of 3 be appointed due to the complex nature of the data that will be presented. There were a number of questions raised about councillors already taking sides and would not be seen to be impartial by the public. Mayor Rachel Rees and Councillor Tim Skinner raised points of order to the Chair when Deputy Chair Councillor Fulton said she would not want to see Nelson go the way of Tasman District, where people suffered asthma attacks due to Tasman's relaxed emission standards. I spoke with 2 attendees, Charm Ian Coed and Peter Orlinshaw, who presented different sides of the emission argument at the public forum. Charmaine, you spoke to Council today at the public forum about the air quality. Could you give us a little bit of your thoughts, please?
Yes, I'm personally very impressed with the improvement of air quality since the air quality rules came in, standards came in. They're actually national standards required throughout the country. They've made a big difference to the quality of air in Nelson. That's obvious when you go outside in the evening or if you look at your paintwork in the morning. So I'm really quite concerned if there's a push towards dumbing those rules down because of the fact that they've been so effective and because of the fact that PM10 particle pollution is very bad for health of people and health of the planet if it comes to that. But my concern is that people should have warm homes to live in, but there are other ways of doing it. Instead of trying to use one bad idea to get rid of another bad idea, what about using some good ideas like increased insulation, which has been shown to be effective, as we saw in an article in the Nelson Weekly last week. Push to the government for cheaper electricity. They can do it for Kamalco. They should be able to do it for our families. And standards for housing, warrant of fitness for housing. That's what I'd like to see happen, rather than dumbing down the air quality rules.
Jane, thanks very much for your comments.
You're welcome.
Peter, you spoke at the Council Public Forum today on the wood burners. Can you give us a few of your comments, please?
Yeah, we just wanted to put it out there that the Parliamentary Commissioner for the Environment said we should ground truth theoretical models on what pollution's actually doing, and we put up a graph from the DHB that showed that despite air pollution levels coming down by 2/3 in every airshed over 13 years, over the same time period hospital admissions for respiratory illnesses has gone up by 1/4. So it really appears, if we're ground truthing these theoretical models, that the theoretical models are shown to be wanting.
Sure, so you're saying that even though the emissions have gone down due to another factor, that the hospital emissions are staying the same and even going up?
That's right, and the wood burners group standpoint is that it's the cold, damp houses that is causing these admissions to increase.
Many people are worried that if we bring back wood burners, we're going to go back to the dark old days of sooty windowsills and all of this. Do you feel that there's some truth in that?
No, I don't. A lot of wood burners have already been taken out. A lot of houses have been insulated. So the wood burners in many cases will just be topping up the heat. And in any event, we should be policing it better as far as stopping smoky chimneys, making a smoky chimney be socially unacceptable, just like it's socially unacceptable to be smoking in a indoor public place.
Good point. Councillor Fulton spoke at length today about bringing in maybe an alternative such as pellet burners. Do you think this is a feasible solution?
No, because one of the things that council did a survey on where people source their wood from, and a third of people get their wood free. The pallets are never free, whereas I would suggest that a lot of poor people can actually source free wood, so that's free heating. And likewise with heat pumps, although they're efficient compared with other forms of electric heating, it's still costing for the electricity, so it's not free either.
It's quite amazing, isn't it? 30% or more of people that were getting their wood for free.
That's right, 33%. Yeah.
So that's a huge cost that's been loaded onto these people that were before not paying for their power or their heat, their source of heat anyway.
I think it's not being loaded onto them because they're actually just not heating. They're just sitting there in the cold, and with houses being colder, there's more mould on the walls, and they're getting sicker, and that's what the hospital admission rates show.
Peter Winshaw, thanks very much for your comment. After the break, we'll bring you the latest weather update and some events and happenings coming up from around the region.
Edward Gibbon, the bathroom specialist, have a great range of bathroom ideas at their showroom at 23 McGlashan Ave in Richmond. Call in and check out some of the latest bathroom designs and fittings. Edward Gibbon, the bathroom plumbing and drainage supply specialist, 23 McGlashan Ave, Richmond.
Why would you want to pay as much as $1,000 for a single bed mattress when you can buy a high quality locally made mattress like this for as little as $220? And a queen size mattress could cost you in excess of $3,000, but at Nelson Beds you could have a mattress like this as low as $425. So why would you go out and spend a fortune on your child's bedroom when you can come to Nelson Beds and buy a complete single mattress and base set, a 7-drawer Scotch chest, a headboard and a 3-drawer bedside cabinet for as little as $979? So call and discuss our custom manufacturing options and local after sales service at Nelson Beds, Nelson's only bedding manufacturer.
We're the team at JCar, right here in Nelson, 120 Hardy Street. Our shop is full of electronic items,
including security alarm systems, electronic components,
solar and power,
electronics toys,
sound systems, cables and much, much more. JCar.
120 Hardy Street, Nelson.
I'm Francis from Nelson Auto Glass. We repair all auto glass, stone chips, windscreen replacements, scratch removal.
If you have an auto glass issue, our team will sort it.
Nelson Auto Glass Specialist, 84 Vanguard Street, Nelson.
Sit and Be Fit is on at the Victory Community Centre Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 AM at the Victory Community Church, 238 Upper Vanguard Street. School terms only. Fun while you get fitter, work at your level. On behalf of the team here at Mainland Television News, thank you for joining us.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.